Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar la mesa redonda de Roundtable, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio. Buenos días, señores oyentes de USA la Radio. Estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital y como siempre pues noticias locales, nacionales, mundiales. Continúa el COVID causando estragos por todas partes. Hubo una semana, un par de semanas en que se vio que los números habían quedado estables, no había un crecimiento en el número de contagios, menos muertes, más vacunas, etcétera. Pero resulta que esto fue algo temporal y otra vez ha aumentado la crisis. No tanto aquí como en Europa, donde ha causado demasiados contagios y muertes y ha obligado a los gobiernos en Italia, en Francia, en Alemania a volver a instituir medidas drásticas para contener el virus. Esa es la situación allá en Europa, en donde la crisis se ha agravado también porque una de las vacunas que había sido efectiva de AstraZeneca, porque hubo resultados adversos en alguna parte, causando problemas con DVT, el flujo de sangre en las venas que causa ataques cardíacos, etc. Entonces, por esta razón, se suspendió el uso de esta vacuna creo que fue en Francia y en otras partes de Europa. Aquí las vacunas que están predominando, la de Pfizer y la de Moderna, todavía están vigentes, y la de Johnson Johnson, que se usa con solamente una inyección. Estas son las buenas noticias aquí. El presidente Biden estuvo en Delaware County, aquí en Pensilvania, y le dijo al electorado que la ayuda está en camino durante una visita allí para promover el 1.9 trillones del paquete de estímulo para la economía y para la salud del país. También de Pennsylvania, the General Assembly's four-floor leaders have been appointed to the state's Legislative Redistricting Commission, and a fifth member is likely to be chosen by the state Supreme Court. It's a report from the Penn Capital Star. A group of Philadelphia Latino community advocates is forming a Latino-specific COVID-19 vaccination collective to address low vaccination rates in their community. Well, we reported on the fact that hay un desbalance, que hay algo que no cabe dentro de los planes mencionados por el gobernador o por el gobierno federal en cuanto a la disponibilidad de vacunas. Está desequilibrado el asunto, no tanto como ha pasado en otras partes como la Florida y en Texas, pero las minorías se han visto adversamente afectadas por la falta de vacunas, por la falta de inventario. Pero aquí se ha formado un grupo específicamente para dirigirse a ese problema. Un grupo de líderes latinos. 2 state prisons have vaccinated more than 70% of inmates, in large part by relying on an incentive program. As a report from Spotlight in Philadelphia Inquirer appeared in the Inquirer. U.S. Senator Pat Toomey is attacked as a Republican in name only, a rhino, along with other GOP members in a new fundraising campaign by the Senate Conservative Fund, which supported Toomey 10 years ago. So, what are the Republicans up to? Well, Trump is determined to punish anybody who voted against him, either on the impeachment, the second impeachment, or who voted to put an end to his march of clowns trying to stop the election. So other Republicans have joined him. So this clown car is getting full because now Republicans in Pennsylvania are attacking Senator Pat Toomey for as being a rhino, a Republican in name only. Well, you know what? That's going to happen to a lot of Republicans. They're going to be rhinos because a growing number of Republicans have left the party or have refused to support the policies of many senators and congressmen who follow blindly the ex-president desire to continue with a negative message. He's still claiming that he won the election. He's still claiming that the election was stolen from him. And now there's a new report that we just saw about Russian interference. Again, officially, they are reporting that Russia interfered or attempted to interfere in the election of 2020, creating negative news about Biden, promoting Donald Trump and his views through social media. And we know that they are very capable of interfering in our elections. Now we know that there are whole military groups enlisted to do just that, to promote Russian interests by attacking Biden in this case and promoting Donald Trump. We see that it didn't work in the 2020 election. If there was any illegality, it was probably promoted by the Russians. It was promoted by the right-wing Republicans, the QAnon, the conspiracy groups. Speaking of QAnon, in the previous program, I mentioned this Senator Ron Johnson, QAnon Johnson, who apparently he doesn't play with a full card and full deck, and the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. One of those things where he is actually not very intelligent, period. He's actually a very stupid man. Well, he's not alone. There's a great video. I wish I could find those clips. Addressing the issue of the media, the Fox media in general, promoting Trump's message, promoting the idea that this election was illegal, that Biden is not the legally elected president. We know that they had given us dates in which Biden, according to QAnon, in March 4th was a day on which Donald Trump will return in his glory to the White House, and Joe Biden will be arrested and indicted for committing crimes. Well, none of that happened, and therefore, many of these QAnon followers, these conspiracy mongrels, decided that they have been betrayed, or double down, saying that there's still another date on which this will happen, that has been postponed, not just stopped. And reports, the new report about the Russian interference, Russian aid in social media, the promotion of the idea that Donald Trump won the election of November 3rd, that it was stolen from him, with the support of senators and representatives in the House. There were 130 votes that would help promote that idea. We know that there was a congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was elected on the wings of this kind of conspiracy. And believe it or not, she got, as we know, she got a standing ovation from the CPAC people, at which such luminaries as Ted Cruz addressed the audience, and with the opportunity for Donald Trump to some sort of come out of hiding and again come out repeating the same lie that he has been spewing since November 3rd. But there is more evidence each day. There are more people being arrested, investigated each day by the FBI and other law entities that they are looking for some of these people that they have been slowly identified through the videos that were captured on that day, many of which were provided by the conspirators themselves, the insurrectionists, the rioters provided some of these videos. And so it's very clear that this was a planned attack on our democracy. And each day there is more evidence. And now that there is a new person at the Justice Department, an Attorney General that is not going to be kowtowing to this president or any political leader, a man of total independence, Barry Garland, who will now he's in charge of pursuing this, and he already declared that one of his priorities will be to investigate the January 6th events that led to an invasion of the Capitol, and which caused the death of 5 people, maybe more. I think maybe 7 people, who people who attacked the policemen with spray, bear spray, and that supposedly has been attributed to the death of one of the policemen, Sicknick, has been attributed to the bear spray. Not proven, but we mentioned previously, and we mention it again, that there is no press conference. There has not been a press conference to give us details of who, when, how, why the insurrection took place. We know, because we saw it with our own eyes, that it was promoted, encouraged, urged by Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Giuliani, other conspirators. So we know that. But now one thing is to know that, another thing is to have evidence to prosecute these people. And that's what the FBI is doing. And that's what a bipartisan panel would do. Señores oyentes, vamos a tomar una breve pausa aquí en Usa la Media de Roundtable. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Regresamos en un momento.
Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar la mesa redonda de Roundtable, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio.
Señores oyentes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Bueno, el gobernador Tom Wolf acaba de nombrar una abogada de Filadelfia, Susana Estrella, to lead the Office of Victim Advocate. It's a report from the Penn Capital Star. So Governor Tom Wolf nominated attorney and Philadelphia native Susana Estrella to lead the Office of the Victim Advocate. State Representative Jeff Pyle, Republican from Armstrong, announced his immediate retirement due to health issues on Tuesday. So that's from the Penn Capital Star. So there's a large number of Republicans at all levels in the national scene, Senate and the House, and now in Pennsylvania, who are resigning, many of them openly declaring that they are leaving because the party that they represent is no longer what they want to do. It's no longer, the party does not identify, they do not identify with that party that is now Donald Trump's party. And so many of them are leaving, they are going home. And so we'll see what happens, because that would give a lot of Democrats national seats in the Senate and the House, and state seats for the Senate in Harrisburg and elsewhere in other cities. The state capitol will reopen to the public on Monday, March 22nd, according to the Penn Capital Star. A report from there. Well, we know that it looks like it's under siege right now when we see images of the Capitol with these metal barriers everywhere, soldiers surrounding the Capitol, and I think the soldiers, the National Guard, are supposed to stay there for a while. I think there's a date in which they will depart. So you may want to tour the Capitol, but it will not look like anything that you expect, because it will be, you will have to go through many checkpoints. There's a great concern about security in view of the continued threats from QAnon, from Proud Boys, from the oath takers. Now, all these people, all these right-wingers are still out there with that message, are still worried about being investigated by the FBI and by other agencies, local and national agencies that will be investigating their participation in the riot of January 6th. There were many people from Pennsylvania, there were a few from Philadelphia, and we don't know their names, but I'm sure that eventually we will find out. We're looking forward to that bipartisan commission that will give us a better idea as to what happened. Because one of the puzzles for the media and for other people, one of the puzzles about the January 6th events is why we have no press conference, no detailed report of what happened, who, how, when, why they did it. And one report recently compared that to Tiger Woods' accident, where he the vehicle he was driving overturned, and he was severely injured, breaking a leg in several parts. So we received a complete report within hours of what happened, how it happened, to whom it happened, and why Tiger Woods may have been under the influence of medicine. It was not the kind of thing where he would be drinking. I don't even think he's a heavy drinker. So we had a complete report about Tiger Woods, and here we are, well, an event on January 6th in the capital, in the heart of the nation, and at which people died, at which there was almost a coup d'etat on our democracy, and we do not have any solid, reliable information. Nobody, there is no spokesperson, nobody has come forward, no policeman, no civilian authority, nobody from the ranks of the Capitol Police or the DC Police, and nobody has given us a press conference with detailed information about what happened and how it happened. An update, even if they don't have a complete report, an update on that event that for us is one of those things that we will never forget, because they placed our nation, our democracy in danger. But now the capital, the state capital, says will reopen to the public on Monday, March 22nd, according to the Penn Star. not the capital in Washington, but the state capital. The capital in Washington, nobody has announced any reopening. It's still on camp. And there was a concern about some tours given to some people, not identified so far, who were given tours of the U.S. Capitol prior to January 6th. So even that, a report on that we have not received, we have not seen. So I don't know. So one capital will reopen, another capital in the city of Washington will not have not announced when people will be touring again. Probably not very soon, because there's still the promise keepers, the oath keepers, and the Proud Boys. There are still individuals out there who refuse to believe that Donald Trump lied to them, and they believe in a deep state conspiracy to put Joe Biden at the top at the presidency. And as we mentioned before, there was a report telling us that the Russians used social media to promote Trump and to belittle Biden, accusing Biden and the Clintons and every other politician who doesn't agree with Trump, accusing them of being involved in a conspiracy to destroy the presidency of Donald Trump. I don't think you needed a conspiracy to destroy the presidency of Donald Trump. He did it all by himself. And at the very least, there's one reason as to why he did not deserve to be our president. Just think about what he did between November 3rd and and January 20th. Think of what happened during that period of time in which he could have saved the lives of thousands of Americans. He did nothing. So We're going to take another brief pause here en Usa la Media de Roundtable. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Regresamos en un momento.
Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar La Mesa Redonda, The Roundtable, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio.
Señores oyentes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos, controlando la máquina digital y estamos hablando del Capitolio estatal, que se abre nuevamente al público el 22 de marzo. Si usted tiene un deseo de ir a visitar el Capitolio Nacional en Washington, no está abierto todavía al público por temor a que haya algún loco tratando de cumplir las promesas de los Oath Keepers o los Proud Boys or QAnon, any of those groups that attacked the Capitol. In that context, we mentioned this outrageous personality, this incredibly stupid man who represents Wisconsin, Senator Ron Johnson, who now has openly declared that he is a racist, basically, announcing that he was not afraid on January 6th, that the rioters were more or less, he didn't say it, but they were his people. They were people he was not afraid of. He sympathized with them. They were good people, respectful people, respectful of authority, and that they would not put his life in danger, even though, as we know from reports from our own eyes, because we saw them on television and we heard them loud and clear asking for Nancy Pelosi. We saw them rioting and destroying the Capitol. These are not good people, but they are Ron Johnson's people, QAnon people. But he's not alone, as I have said before. It's a great report. John Oliver. You can find it on YouTube about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, who is was raised with a silver spoon. Swanson dinners. That's where the money comes from in his family, and he has taken up the cause of racism, and he has been given a platform on the Fox network, and they love him there. They love him because he attracts a tremendous audience. One of those members of that audience said that his family watches Carlson one time during the day and then watch it again. So they were at least twice a day they received the message from Carlson. Now think about this. Dr. Carlson represents the white supremacist point of view. He is the spokesman for somebody who lost the national platform, Pat Buchanan, another person who espoused racist views, and then he was demoted and thrown out, and never seen again, never heard from again, except in sort of small venues. But Carlson is the poster boy for the white racist, and he couches this in such a way, and you have to, if you can, watch the John Oliver piece on him, because he makes it clear that what he has done is camouflage his message in such a way that he seems to be innocently asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Why is it that? You know, why is it that um, uh, black people were determined to riot and destroy businesses? Why is it that they were supported by the Democrats? Why is it? And that's the kind of question that he will continue uh, to pose. Apparently, he's only innocently asking. He wants to know. But in the meantime, what he's doing with each one of them, camouflaging his real intention, which is to say, listen, I represent you, white people. I represent you and your views. Pat Buchanan, the white supremacists, the KKK, uh, any of these groups, I represent you. The people who own this land, the people who have a right to be in this country are white people. The rest of the people do not belong here. They do not have, should not have the same access to this country. Certainly not immigrants. He's opposed to immigration. He's opposed to immigration, especially from from the border south of Mexico. So that's Tucker Carlson. Someday we'll find one of those clips and play it for you because it is unbelievable. So what he says on the network on Fox is not what he says when he calls one of those outrageous podcasts or radio shows uh, where you can find like-minded spokesman for the right, like-minded spokesman for white racists. What he says there is clearly and openly declaring that we are that this country is becoming too brown for them. Basically, that's what we hear from him. The white supremacists who organized that riot at the instigation of Donald Trump, they believe the same thing. They believe that this country is becoming too brown. They're opposed to immigration. They're opposed to black people gaining more power. They are opposed to black people voting. And right now, there's a campaign throughout the country in almost every state, 40 states, campaigning to deprive black people from the vote, campaigning to get black people to stay away, not voting on Sundays, not voting by mail, not using boxes that were available before and now they have been removed. So they have attempted by all means to change the outcome of the 2020 election, which they lost. They lost the presidency. They lost 2 Senate seats in Georgia. They stand to lose the House and the Senate for a long time because of their outrageous views. And so what they are worried about is the black people vote, the vote of minorities, Hispanics, blacks, and Asians that put Joe Biden in the White House and that gave that small margin, but significant margin of victory for the Senate to be led by Democrats and not Republicans. So it's still a mystery as to why they insist on supporting Donald Trump when he, after his 4 years in office, they don't have the White House, they don't have the Senate, and they don't have the House, Congress. So, but they still insist on I don't know, on conveying Donald Trump's message. Election influence, as I mentioned before, Russia and Iran both attempted to influence the 2020 US presidential election by amplifying traditional and social media narratives, according to a declassified US intelligence report released yesterday. The report found Russia carried out extensive efforts undercutting the Biden campaign and supporting the Trump campaign, including coordinating the leak of supposedly damaging audio between Biden and a Ukrainian lawmaker. Conversely, the assessment found Iran actively worked to influence public perception against then President Trump, whose administration adopted a hardline stance against Iran. Both share the primary goal of exacerbating US social and political divisions while undermining confidence in the electoral process. Analysts concluded China considered but did not deploy similar operations. No evidence was found that any foreign actors technically interfered in the vote tabulation or process, hacking electronic voting machines, for instance. The report explicitly avoided making a conclusion. But we know that anytime people say report, that brings me back to the Robert Mueller report that so spelled out what happened during the 2016 election and the interference of Russia, about the illegal activities of Mr. Trump and Rudy Giuliani to discredit Biden by linking him to some shady deals in Ukraine. And that failed, obviously, but it caused damage because we know that it's hard to get away from whatever message appears in front of your screen, and that's the message that was conveyed with the help of the Russians and with the help of the right wingers in this country on social media, spreading conspiracy theories, spreading misinformation. So we have to watch out for that. There has to be. Look, it's obvious that something like Twitter has tremendous power, Facebook. Look what happened as soon as Donald Trump lost his account, his Twitter account. We could sort of rest easily. There was no longer that concern that every morning we got up to some outrageous demand, declaration by this ex-president, the most unqualified man to ever serve in the White House. I don't know. Sometimes I feel that maybe I should dwell on some more positive news. The Dead Sea Scroll discovery, for instance. Archaeologists in Israel revealed dozens of Dead Sea Scroll fragments bearing Hebrew religious writings found in a desert cave believed to have been hidden during a Jewish revolt against Rome between 132 and 136 of the Christian era. The first new fragments found in the region in 60 years. The scrolls include lines from the books of Zechariah and Nahum. Initially discovered in 1946-47, the broader collection of writings is among the most important discoveries in Judeo-Christian history, containing some of the oldest known examples of writing later included in the Hebrew Bible. While some are well preserved, thousands exist as fragments, many purchased separately through antiquity dealers. So you can find out about that. It's an amazing piece of history and of interest to Jews and Christians and even Arabs, because we all come from Abraham. We all share the prophets. The operation also included a collection of rare coins from almost 2,000 years ago, a 6,000-year-old skeleton of a child, likely female, mummified in a piece of cloth, and a 10,000-year-old basket, which may be the oldest in the world. So those are, positive news, cultural news, the kind that we should be more interested in discussing, informing you about. There are so many other depressing news, or most of them related to COVID and what it has done to us economically and health-wise. So, and nevertheless, we're still going back and forth, positive and negative things. There's an item about Atlanta, some shootings in Atlanta where 8 people died. So how? And don't forget one thing, that's one of the big issues in the DA campaign in our city. We had the opportunity to discuss that with the candidates to the district attorney's office. 8 people are dead and 1 person injured after a series of shootings in 3 Atlanta area massage parlors yesterday. The first attack took place near the town of Acworth, about 30 miles northwest of the city. The subsequent 2 attacks targeted spas inside the city. 6 of the 8 victims were reported to be Asian women, with 4 victims of Korean descent. The attacks follow a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans over the past year, up a reported 150% in major U.S. cities. Police have not yet released a motive for those attacks. And that's one of the tragedies of all this conspiracy, all this misinformation about COVID. Donald Trump kept saying the Asian virus, the Chinese virus, the China virus, he called it. As a result, many Asians, many Chinese people are being harassed, attacked, and now, we don't know, perhaps killed as a result. Who knows? We don't know too much about this late report from Atlanta. But we know violence is not unique to Atlanta. Violence in this city, in Philadelphia, increased tremendously. We are on a path to have maybe 600 deaths in this city as a result of violence. So it's unbelievable, and the availability of guns and the drug trade, those are some of the main causes. Poverty doesn't cause. It's not a direct cause of violence. Millions of our citizens live in poverty without committing crimes. They struggle daily to earn a living without killing people. So there might be a corollary that is all these things because the drug trade is more prevalent in the Black and Hispanic community. That maybe that's one of the causes, just the drugs and the poverty. No question that they're all related, but that's not the only cause. Poverty is not the cause of violence, not alone. Señores oyentes de USA Media, estamos aquí en la mesa redonda. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani, vamos controlando la máquina digital. Regresamos en un momento.
Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar La Mesa Redonda, The Roundtable, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio.
Señores oyentes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Jonathan Greenblatt from a report from the Anti-Defamation League. They have recorded the highest number ever of white supremacist propaganda in 2020. So that's what we were talking about before, and they have such really support from politicians like QAnon, Senator QAnon Johnson. But there are so many other things that we talk about. So let's see what we have in terms of national headlines. Biden tells migrants who are arriving in record numbers at the border, he says, don't come over. But that was the headline that the media, the major newspapers gave us, that Biden is telling potential Americans not to come over. They stay in their countries and wait. But he's not doing this in a mean, in a racist way. He's not. He's concerned that the large number of people will cause overcrowding at the border, and the country is not ready yet. We don't have the means to deal with approximately 4,000 children who are unaccompanied minors at the border and who have to be processed. What he's saying to people who want to come to this country, and believe me, there are millions of people, not only from Latin America, from all over the world, who want to come here. This is still the land of promise. But he's telling the people in caravans and the people who are arriving at the border, he's telling them, please wait until we are better organized. We inherited, Biden says, a mess from the previous administration that had done everything possible to stop migrants, to jail, to separate people from, separate children from their families. So the GOP, McCarthy especially, Kevin McCarthy, no conscience, is exploiting this issue politically, attributing the crisis to Biden when he knows full well that this is not a Biden-created crisis. It's a crisis created over U.S. policy in the previous administration, where people had no hope, where people were scared to death, where approximately 2,000 children were separated, following Steve Miller's advice to the president to break up families, no matter the age of the children. And even now, even to this point, many of those children that were separated during the Trump administration have not found their families, have not been reunited. So what Biden is saying is not a policy, is not anything and the White House press secretary said it is not anything like what Mr. Trump had done. This is a more humane attempt to deal with a very serious crisis. So we would join the president saying, "Wait, it's not that you're not going to be allowed to come. It's just that you can do it in an orderly way, and that would help everybody." So when he says don't come, Biden is saying his administration is working on addressing the crisis and telling potential immigrants to stay home until the country is ready to process their arrival. Nancy Pelosi says the GOP is saying that terrorists are coming into the country. Well, remember that was Mr. Trump's tagline that there were terrorists in the caravana that was coming from Central America, from Honduras. So do not believe what the GOP is telling us. There are no terrorists. It's only people looking for a better life. Interviews with Fauci and Dr. Birx. Dr. Birx, I mentioned already that she was very uncomfortable with Trump telling the people to inject Lysol into their veins. She said, "You could see from my body language that I was uncomfortable." Fauci says putting an end to the pandemic has to be a global effort. Obviously, if we stop the pandemic in this country, but it continues unabated in the rest of the world, that would not be a solution. But we also, right now, are in danger of having a second or third wave because people are acting irresponsibly. And we know that many partygoers, many spring breakers in Florida, many were arrested for not obeying regulations. So, and gathering in large numbers against the advice and the laws that regulate not only Florida but around the country. And Pelosi also addressed the allegations against Governor Andrew Cuomo. And so many in the media are delighting because they're happy to promote, to prop up a political figure like Andrew Cuomo when he was the spokesman, the national spokesman in the battle against COVID, and we got reports from him every day. And now the same media that promoted him are concerned about how he should quit. He should resign. And he says he's not going to resign. Nancy Pelosi addressed that issue, and she says the governor, Cuomo, is a supporter of zero tolerance. She says we have legislation on the floor of the House now addressing Violence Against Women Act, and the Equal Rights Amendment. People have to unlearn some bad behavior. I guess she's addressing the governor's issues at this point. He has to unlearn some bad behavior, which maybe some of the way he acted towards women in the past was permissible, was allowed, but it's no longer that way. So Biden is heading to PA to sell COVID relief bill, and he says first we have to crush the virus and get people back to work. That's nobody disagrees with that. And they are celebrating that this is a bipartisan bill across the country, and that 12 billion of that $1.9 trillion bill, 12 billion will help to ease, to address food insecurity. There should not be millions of children going hungry in one of the richest nations on earth. Bueno, amigos, hemos llegado al final de otra edición de la Mesa Redonda. Agradecemos mucho su sintonía en el día de hoy. Se despide Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos, controlando la máquina digital. Los esperamos hasta la próxima.
Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar la Mesa Redonda, The Roundtable, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio.
Thank you, Danny.